Hi. If we've not met, my name is Mary Manderfield. I'm a radio presenter, journalist, and all-round creative girl. I'm always looking for these kinds of videos on YouTube, and I don't find them. And I feel like younger Mary would have really appreciated this. So here goes. This is what life looks like as a radio host and some of the thoughts and feelings that go on in my brain doing this crazy job in the media. So, a bit of backstory. I started radio at the start of 2020. I just had this kind of like feel-good music show on a really small little community radio station, and I freaking loved it. Like, it was so fun to me. I had no idea what I was doing. I probably sounded awful. I didn't plan out my shows very well. Like, it was a whole mess. It wasn't until October 2020 that I kind of got poached and asked to go on another station that I started sitting up a bit and taking it seriously and realising that the people that had been on my station had gone on to do amazing things. So like the kind of alumni had gone on to KISS, Capital Extra, 1Extra, like everything, Beats, like all these big stations. I was like, oh, maybe if I do this properly, this could progress. So October 2020, I started on a community radio station called Westside in West London, and my show is called Bringing It Black. So it's a talk show with topics and conversations related to different Black communities. And I get to speak to a bunch of people. Like, I can do what I want with the show. So I interview a bunch of different people. I choose different topics. It's all easy. It's not easy breezy, but it's all really enjoyable. Literally a year ago to the week, I was asked to cover a show on BBC Radio 1Extra. If you're not from the UK or you're not familiar with the station, it's huge. It focuses on Black music and conversations relating to Black communities, although the listenership is kind of wide open because it's the UK and like there's a lot of different types of people here. So I got asked to cover a show called 1Extra Talks, and this is a talk show, in case the name didn't make it clear. And again, it's similar to Bringing It Black, where it just tackles different topics and different conversations and has different guests on, and it's like a group chat feel of like everyone can have their say, everyone can kind of like pitch in. And even though the show is only an hour, which is relatively short in comparison to other shows, it's intense because there's no music. Zero songs from start to finish, 0 songs in there. So you are holding it together, and it's quite intense. I did a couple of those around this time last year. And again, that was another moment for me to like sit up and be like, damn, this is more than a hobby. That was the first time getting paid to do radio as well. And I was like surrounded by these huge people, like you're on the same day as Trevor Nelson and David Rodigan and Rampage Sound and Heartless Crew and like, what? The next big thing for me in radio was 1st of January 2023, where I covered on BBC Radio 1. Again, huge. Did I grow up listening to that station? Yes. Do I still listen to that station religiously? Yes. The same with 1Extra. Your girl's just in between the two. And it was incredible. Like, as expected, it was incredible. Myself and Abby covered life hacks and then official chart first look. We were in for Vic and Katie, and it was part of the Christmas cover presenter like kind of competition that they've run for a couple of years now. Bear in mind, I entered that every single year, so I think 4 years in a row, and I was always rejected. So, because persistency is key. That was incredible. And on the same week, I started presenting on BBC Radio London, which is a BBC local station. It's in the same building as Radio 1 and 1Extra, so I was like familiar with my surroundings. And the show that I do is called The Scene, so it's kind of emerging arts, culture, musicians, people like on the come up. And I friggin' love it. Like, I'm so bad at like describing these things because all I can say is like, I love it. And I have a really great time, and I've had like the best guests on. I have a lot of control over like who's on the show and what we talk about. And as long as it's relevant to the listeners and it's relevant to London and we bring people in, we're good. So I've been doing that for about 3.5 months. And that's it for radio. My day-to-day life, I guess, is really varied. I've got this kind of pillar of West Side and Radio London. So that's Tuesday nights and then Wednesday nights. So I kind of spend a lot of the second half of the week kind of planning. So I've just taken on a producer for West Side, which is amazing because I never had anyone before to like bounce ideas off of or celebrate the show with or help plan the show. So we've got an amazing producer called Chelsea who's just on it. So yeah, I spend a lot of the week just kind of keeping my eye out of who's releasing a book, who's in a film, who's got an album out, who's got a video that's trending on TikTok that we can pull in and we can chat to. Okay, if I found that person, I've reached out to that person and I've got them in and agreed, and then thinking, what am I asking them? What questions are we going with? What do I want from them? How do I want them to feel at the end of the interview? Is it a real giggly, kiki, ha ha ha, we've had a great time? Or is it like a bit deeper? Is it tackling an issue that we've never done before on the show? But that's kind of radio of where I'm at the moment. I do also have a journalism job, but I will leave that for another video because that's a whole other conversation. Now, full disclaimer, I am very much on my journey of like knowing where I sit in radio, what station, what time, what show, and then actually getting that. Because it's one thing knowing it and another thing getting it. But I feel so much more confident in my ability as a radio presenter than I did even like 3 months ago, 6 months ago, a year ago. And I see it as quite wide open of like where I could go. In terms of tips of getting into the industry, I think UK radio is very different to other countries, so I can only speak on what I know. I'm also lucky enough to be based in London, which is where a lot of major stations are. Number one, people will always tell you community radio stations or uni, student radio stations or hospital radio stations. I don't know why when I started, I rolled my eyes a little bit at that advice and thought for some reason I could skip that step and just go straight into like a big commercial station. Because I was like, I'm confident, I'm chatty. Like my friends say I should be a radio presenter. Like someone on the street said I should be a radio presenter, so I should be a radio presenter. But like the station needs like a trustworthy person. So if you've never even seen or touched a desk before and you've never presented a show before, maybe it happens somewhere at some time, but why would a big station with a big reputation just like do that? They'd rather you go and do a community station or a student radio show for a year and you can prove a point that there you go, look, I can do it, before they do that. So if you also have that mentality that like someone out there should give you a chance, it's not going to happen. Give yourself a chance, bet on yourself and write to your local community station, volunteer with them. No one's going to be paying you at the start. If you want to DJ, learn how to DJ, like go on YouTube, buy yourself some cheap decks, whatever it is. But I had to get myself out of this mindset of like, when will somebody scout me? When will somebody notice me? And it's actually like mad disrespectful to all the people who are putting in like years of work. So I'll leave that one with you. Another thing you'll need is a demo. Your community station might ask you for a demo, which is a bit annoying because you're like, how am I going to do a demo if I haven't done it yet? You could either ask them like, do you have a second studio that I could just come in and record one for you? Or just do it at home. You can literally do the voice recorder into your phone. It doesn't need to be the best quality in the world, but just do it. Use Audacity. It's a free program. Add some music. Listen to a show that you like. Emulate that show. Don't copy it word for word. But, you know, if they talk about like red carpet fails, do something similar. If they're always talking about what went on with the football on Saturday, do something similar. Don't go so different to like the station you're trying to be on. And I'd say the third tip is you don't need to do a radio voice. Please, let's eliminate that in big 2023. You don't have to do, hey everybody, good morning. Like, I don't know, like you don't need to do it. So don't do it. Try your hardest to speak how you speak with your friends. I'm guilty of it sometimes. I maybe not to that extreme, but just try your hardest to like speak how you speak with your friends. Maybe a bit more enthusiastic, or if you're doing a chill show, a bit more chill, whatever. You don't need to put on this whole fake persona. Those are my tips. Network, don't be annoying. Don't expect to like reach right to the top right early on. If you're in a similar position to me where you're kind of covering a lot and you don't have like your permanent slot, hang in there. Like I completely get where you're at. You've got to have faith in yourself. You've got to have like mad delusion. If you put in the work and you are serious with yourself and you're honest with yourself, like listen back to your shows. Could that have been better? Could you have had better guests? Okay, do you need to go to other places to find your guests? Do you need to switch it up? Like ask for feedback, like do all of the things, and I have complete faith that it will happen for you, because that's how I have to talk to myself. Otherwise I'm going to dig myself into a pit and be sad about it and cry. I don't need to cry any more than I'm already crying about other things. So radio will not be a reason to cry. Radio will be the reason that I smile, I connect with good people, I have a good time, I have a positive impact on the world, and we keep it moving. I did want to talk about a couple of the pros and cons of being in this industry, and this is kind of personal to me. It might be completely different for other people. Let me start with the cons so I can end on a high. So cons, I would say, it's draining. You use a lot of your energy. You are constantly kind of like projecting it outwards and not really kind of getting it back sometimes. Number 2, the hours can be mad, especially when you're starting out. You will be asked to do graveyard shifts. You will be late, and then you have to juggle that with the rest of your life. Number 3, where the money? Where is the money? When you're starting out, there's no money. Then after a bit, there's a little bit of money. And then after a bit longer, there's a bit more money, but it's not crazy lucrative right at the start. And for a lot of stations, it's never crazy lucrative. I can't change it anytime soon. What I would say is utilize some of those skills that you already have or you're learning whilst doing radio. So DJing is an amazing one. If you really love your music and you're around other DJs, learn how to DJ, like get someone to teach you, and then you can go and do gigs and live your best life. Voiceover, I love doing voiceovers. Love, love, love.
This is Wet Leg, with the most anticipated debut album of the year.
I think I've gotten to a point where I know my voice really well. I know like the inflections of my voice, and I know I can do good stuff with it. And you also have a radio studio, you can use that microphone. So go and record some voiceovers. I'm not an expert in how to get voiceover jobs. Go look somewhere else for that. Other ways to make money in radio. You can do like partnerships. If you're doing community radio, like you might be able to find like commercial partners that will do things on your show if you have like a specialist show, which can be quite cool. Not for every radio station though. So talk to your station manager or your producer. And how else can you make money? Hosting events, getting good at social media and kind of doing sponsored stuff on socials. So similar stuff of what you're talking about on your show, you could kind of transfer over to socials and start working with brands. Those are the cons. Instability, doubting yourself, no kind of like permanent job, always like chasing the next thing. Very rarely kind of like taking time to be in the moment and be present and say like, this is amazing. But that all comes with time. The pros. Oh my word. I really believe I'm out here like Make-A-Wish Foundation. I'm like, bippity boppity boop. You come on the show. You're going to have a good time. You can talk about your music. You can talk about your book. You can talk about your event. And they skip out of the door. And what a blessing to be able to be that person. Like, wow. Wow. I will never take that for granted. Number 2, genuinely like doing a job that you love, like, or a hobby that you freaking love, that so many people, I think, either never do or never get to do or never, I don't know, they don't take a chance on themselves. So even if you're already in this world just a little bit, like, I feel like you're one step ahead of all the people who come up to me at parties and say, I always wanted to be a radio DJ, or I was a DJ in uni, and like, okay, but you didn't do it, and that's fine. But I take pride in like, I did it. Also, you get to go to a load of cool events or meet a load of cool people only by putting yourself out there and like asking to go to them, really. Like, I very rarely get invited to places. I just ask if I can go. And I'm like, I'm on the radio. And they're like, okay, cool, you can come because you might talk about it on the radio and it's great publicity. Always discovering new music, working with cool people, having an outlet for your crazy creative ideas. And it's free therapy, I believe. So you can get it all off your chest. I know this chest is small, but there's a lot that lies on it. Get it out, man. Talk to your listeners. Forge connections with your listeners. And they trust you. And then when you meet people, like you bump into people on the street, they want to talk to you about it. And I love it. I love being an ear as much as I love being a mouthpiece. Don't be a Debbie Downer. Don't just like give everyone your like all the worst things that have ever happened to you. But you can use like, oh, I got splashed by a bus going through a muddy puddle. Use that as ammunition for your show and talk about like unfortunate things that happen on the streets of London that actually turn out funny, whatever it is. Make it work for your listener. It's not about you as much as you'd love it to be about you. It's about the people who are listening whilst they're at work, the people who are driving home with their kids, the people who are waking up in the morning and want to feel good. Like, you get to soundtrack part of their day. Freaking cool. If you have any other questions about radio, please do ask away. I'm not an expert. I'm still a baby girl in all of this. I'm figuring it out as I go along. I'm trying my very hardest, loving it, but I don't know it all. And if you're interested, go for it. I mean, don't come for my job, but go for it. It's amazing. Yeah, I'm here. My website's below. I've also got a weekly newsletter where I give loads of advice and chit chat a bit like this and opportunities in the industry. And I'm on the radio a lot, so listen to that when that's on. I'm going to stop talking now because I can waffle. See you next time. Bye.